Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am Diana Falzone. This is Paltalk, and this is the Diana Falzone Show. You know, I come across a lot of artists, a lot of singers, a lot of songwriters, and a lot of them leave me very unimpressed. But when I heard Alina Smith sing, I went, that girl has extraordinary musical talent. Not only are you a singer, but you also write and play, and you are a prodigy, really. So, Alina, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Diana. It's very nice to be here.
And I want everyone out there, you are on a computer, to check out Smith.8.11.11. You can hear her music, you can see her performances, you can check out her Twitter. It's all there for the world to see. And I just want to extend a big welcome to our Paltalk audience. If you have questions for our beautiful guest, Alina, today, you can raise your Paltalk hands, talk into the mic, talk to us directly. If you don't have a mic, that's okay, don't fret. You can still talk to us through Gary. What up, Gary? He's going to be screening those messages and those calls. So, Alina, you were born in St. Petersburg in Russia.
That's right.
And you had an American father, a Russian mother, and a very musically inclined family.
I would say they were professionals. My mom, she sang in operetta when she was really young, and I think I got a little bit of those genes. You know, and she really enjoys music, and everybody in the family. So I guess I'm the one that decided to do it professionally.
And it was nice that you had the support of your parents, because I think a lot of young artists sometimes have parents who are like, you need to be a lawyer and a doctor, and music isn't a real career.
I get a little bit of that from my mom, not that way, but she's always asking me, you know, how's it going? How much money are you making? And I'm like, well, you know, it's about the music first and the art, so, you know, but money's good.
No, money, yeah, I mean, money is kind of what helps fuel the art, and it's...
Yeah, but, I mean, what you're seeing, I get it, because a lot of the people that I know that are artists that are young, they're struggling with that, but my family, they're great.
Yeah. Speaking of which, you have quite a rich background in studying music, and you were accepted to programs that were very difficult to get into. Can you explain that a little bit?
Well, in Russia, people are very serious about their arts, and I did music and I did ballet, and what you do when you're like 5 years old is you go to these auditions for these schools.
Wow.
And they're not like high school or middle school, like they're separate schools for the arts. So if you get accepted, what happens is you go to your regular school, and then after that, like at 3 p.m. or 4, you go to another school.
Wow.
So, and that's what I did for a while. I did that with dancing, music, and painting art, and then eventually just whittled down to music. And what happened actually, which is kind of funny, I was so heavily into it that when I was 12 years old, which is so funny because I started at like 5, at 12, I decided I was just going to write a book, and I didn't want to do any of that anymore, and I just came back to it a few years later completely on my own without any school.
Wow.
And yeah, it was just very interesting because all of that was very classically inclined and, you know, very official kind of vibe, I guess. And then when I came back to it, it was all about discovering the Beatles and the Beach Boys and country and R&B and just creating a thing.
Right. Well, it seems like it was kind of a conservatory environment for you.
Yeah.
Was it like the Fame school that you see, you know, in the movie Fame portrayed for American students, or was it rigid and serious?
It's very serious and very rigid. Like improvisation is not encouraged. You have sheet music and you just play.
Wow.
And that's one of the reasons when I was 12 I was like, Mommy, I don't want to do this anymore, because, and a lot of people did that I knew, but they never came back to it. They just left. They were pushed so much that they left, and they never rediscovered music professionally.
What's interesting is like the burnout rate, I think, for some of these young prodigies is that they have the talent, but they're pushed and pushed and pushed. You didn't have stage parents, you had the opposite of it, but a lot of these kids did, and I think that it's kind of what the saying is about Juilliard here in the United States, that they break you down to build you up, but so many people just last 2 years and they're out because it's so hard. So what made you really not be a statistic and not burn out from those schools?
I think the fact that I quit very young and then came back to it when I was like 60, which is just ridiculous if you think about it, you know, to quit so young and restart so young. But I just I loved music always. I loved singing. I performed in, you know, Europe and like toured like as a really, really young child.
Right.
And then I took a break and I was literally writing, you know, a novel just as a hobby. And then I just started loving pop music.
Yeah.
And from that point on, it was just a completely separate thing and a journey that I was on and still am on, just on my own.
Speaking of the pop music and the influences, like you said, Beach Boys, and really enjoying them, but your music is very soulful, and
Yeah.
I think what blue-eyed, green-eyed soul,
Green.
green-eyed soul, we'll call it that. But you really do have a voice that is kind of Janis Joplin-esque. Like you have a depth to it. The way you play, you can like the passion goes through your fingertips. That's something that comes from within that no one can really teach you.
I don't think they can. That's just something that's inside of you. I feel like a lot of, this is cliche, but a lot of music is basically expressing your angst and your pain and problems and working through them in that healthy, creative way, non-destructive. I mean, because a lot of people, when they try to work through their problems, it's more, you know, getting down on yourself and, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But music is something that really helps you work through it in a healthy, really positive way. So for me, that's been that, and a lot of people that I know that are, you know, I really love their music and really respect them. It's the same for them too.
For the musical community, I mean, there's been so many young artists that have died too young, been lost too young. When you look at people like Amy Winehouse, it's devastating, I think, to the musical community to lose such talent. How did you stay away from that environment, because you're working late hours, you're at clubs, there's drugs everywhere? I mean, how do you say no?
I'm very lucky because I'm married to a great guy who's not an artist and not a musician, and he's just always, you know, been there to support me in that. And then also I'm just not really into that kind of stuff. Like, never really appealed to me. Like I said, if I have some problems or angst or whatever, you know, I work through it in a musical way. Like I'd rather sit there at the keyboard and, you know, sing, write a song, play, just, you know, if I'm tired, I'll just play. Just zoned out completely like that. And just, I feel like I don't need, like, drugs or anything, like, drinking for that. I don't really, like, I've never done any of that stuff.
Yeah, and I think it's good to hear an artist say that, because there's such a, I think there's like a misbelief that if you're an artist, you have to be into that world.
It's wrong. It's very wrong. I think it's gotten a lot better. I mean, Amy is like a bad example for
like an outlier.
She's more like a throwback to the 70s, the 60s. Right now, I feel like a lot of the artists are very health conscious, and they're vegan, and they don't drink, and they don't smoke, and that's good. And a lot of people are just working through their problems with music.
Right.
You know. I hope so, at least. The people that I hang out with are like that.
Well, you have to surround yourself with positivity. I think that's always probably the best way to go about. We have our first caller, Alexander from Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Hey, Alexander. He'll be there eventually.
Sorry. Hi.
Hi.
What's your question today for Alina?
Alina, I think that your music is very, very good.
Thank you.
I'm a really huge fan, and I actually have a song for the show, if that's okay.
Sure.
Alright, just give me 1 second to bring it up, alright?
Okay.
Sure.
How do you feel about getting serenaded this morning? Good? Or afternoon?
I actually love getting serenaded because I'm usually the one doing the serenading.
That's a nice reverse.
It's very nice. I love it when people play for me.
That's awesome. Well, I actually was going to give you an impromptu rap, but no.
Do it. I'll give you a beat.
Yo, Alina, here we are, hanging out in Paltalk. You're a star. I don't know what else to say. Alexander, are you ready to play?
Bring it down.
Bring it down. Alexander, are you ready?
I'll be ready to rock your world.
Oh my, okay.
Awesome.
I know, yeah, he has time to settle and get there. Just give me a voice cue because I want to keep everybody kind of like moving here. All right.
All right. You keep the show going, and I'll let you know when I'm ready.
Perfect. Okay.
Awesome.
Alexander has just taken over my show, and that's okay. It's a free for all. I like having it open for him. So going back, you have toured everywhere. What is one of the most welcoming audiences? Because you played in China, and my God, that crowd
I played in China.
loved
That
you.
was great. That was really, really awesome. I did most of my international touring when I was really young, like 9 to 15 to 16. I'd say Germans are very, very welcoming. When we played there, it was just like they were taking the shirt off their back for the kid performers. It was, yeah, it was just really exciting, and we did a lot of, I mean, mostly European touring. Honestly, I can't say of any country that was not welcoming.
Was that interesting playing in China though, because that's still a communistic nation, and I've heard that they're very inclined towards the arts, but they also still censor a lot of what goes on. So what was that like performing?
They do. I mean, I didn't like sing anything that would be censored. It was a very G-rated song, which was actually really good. A friend of mine wrote it, but it was just. Honestly, it wasn't what I expected. There was a lot of diversity. They had a rap artist, they had, you know, Britney Spears type girl, they had like a boy band. I mean, they were a little bit, it's interesting, the arts there, they're a little bit like, kind of like early 2000s here, so it was just really interesting. I mean, and I have a video of it out there. I was always like shooting everything.
No, it's awesome.
The concert, they had a lot of just really diverse talent.
Yeah.
Which is what, like, one of the things I really enjoy about what I do is just, I'm always around people that are so talented, and it's so fun.
Well, speaking of talent, I think Alexander wants to do his Paltalk debut song. Are you ready, Alex?
He's tuning.
Gary, do we have Alex?
Well, his microphone is open, but we do not hear his melodious tones.
That's too bad. I know we're looking forward to it, but I want to, you know, we'll just let him chime in, but, you know, we have to keep things going. So, what I was going to get back to as well is, what advice do you have? Because we have a lot of our audience members, like Alex, who want to be musicians and singers and songwriters. How are you able to take this passion and make it your career?
Boy.
That's a big question, right?
I have a lot of advice for people out there. I mean, when you are just very young and you're starting out, it's really confusing, and honestly, the older you get and the more you're in it and the more you know, the more confusing it gets. It's true. I mean, it's such a meandering path. Back, you know, 15 years ago, it was much more clear. You just get signed, you know, there's just a lot of money to throw around. The record companies, you know, they did that. They would just sign a bunch of people, develop them. There's no artist development these days.
No.
You have to develop yourself. And that, I think, is the advice that I would give to anybody. And it's very hard, and it's almost like an impossible task, but developing yourself to the point where you are commercially viable, or if you're more like an indie type artist, you know, and you don't care about being on the radio or anything, still developing yourself to the point where you are just, you have validity as an artist and you're not a copy of somebody. That's what you have to do, and ways to do that are just, there's a plethora of ways to do it. There's just listening to music and really analyzing what's going on with the chord progressions, with the vocals, with basically any part of it. There's going out to shows and connecting with your peers. There is just simply writing, writing on your own, writing with people that are more experienced than you is invaluable. Definitely have to do that. Producing, you know, if you have the talent, get Pro Tools, get Logic, get GarageBand, and just go for it. My last EP, I produced it on my own.
Wow.
And just really out of necessity, because I could not find the producer that I would connect with. And I was just like, oh, I'm just going to do it. And so far from what I've heard, people like it, and it's gotten me to a point where I now have people that are coming to me that want to work with me because of what I did, you know, because they can hear my vision, and before they couldn't because it wasn't out there.
Well, that's one of the things that I think is difficult, like you brought up so wisely, Alina, is that you have to be self-made in this day and age. And experience Alina Smith at alinasmith.net. She is a force to be reckoned with. Listen to her music. I love it. And I'm obsessed with your song, Kissing Tree.
Oh, thank you.
Boom, boom.
It's very nice to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I'm going to go out and enjoy New York while I can.
Enjoy it, for sure. And we'll see you guys soon next week here on Paltalk.com.